So let's try it together. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. If you have a little musical training, it helps, because then you can look at the swaras and go up and down on that. Oh, by the way, my name is Swami Advayatmananda. You may not recognize me because I don't have a whole bunch of gizmology in front of me, like the laptop and the iPad and the iPhone. I came gizmology free. And thank you for the additional suggestions. We will be starting at 7:30, starting tomorrow, and we'll announce it after today so we don't confuse people. Satsang here at 7:30. So that'll be for tomorrow and Saturday, just 2 days. There's no guarantee on Saturday that we'll stop within the hour, if that was your end game, because we're transforming that into a class. So we'll have to see how far we are along in the text. We're lingering on this section to make sure we get the groundwork, and then, as all Swamis do when they teach, the last few shlokas go fairly quickly. But I don't want to give them short shrift, so we'll see how things proceed. Yes, there's a microphone there.
Thank you, Swamiji, for your talks and very, very nice notes, very nicely prepared and informative notes. So I have a couple of questions about the introduction part on page 14th and then on page 16th.
I actually don't have a copy. Does somebody have is there a copy, Ganesh? Somewhere of the I didn't bring my text. Oh, here, Satish is coming. He's coming, he's got it, yeah. Thank you. I can't say I have everything memorized.
So right at the beginning on page 14th, in the Hastamalaka Stotra Bhashyam, it says, Sukham me bhuyat, dukkham me ma bhuyat, and then ... and then it goes on to say, Viraktascha samsar hanau yatato. So it's, may there be happiness for me, and may I experience no suffering. And then ... this endeavors to attain the cessation of samsara. So how is the conclusion that from I want happiness and no suffering to that samsara has to cease?
Yeah, that's a good question. You see, the ellipsis, I left some things out because it was a long bhasha. The idea was that this is the gas that keeps us going, right? We're all seeking to be happy. In fact, Shankaracharya, in his Adhyasa Bhashya, calls us all cows. He says he calls us pashus, because he says the human condition is it's different than that of a cow. If a cow sees somebody offering sweet green grass, they come to eat. If a cow sees a dandi, someone with a big stick who's threatening to beat them, then they run away. And that's how we live in the world too. So that's the idea, is that we're all seeking happiness, and so the ellipse, what should be in there in the ellipses is, and this is why I think I said, someone blessed with an abundance of grace. So to me, I meant to include someone who has the wherewithal to do the Purushartha Vichara, meaning can analyze, well, if I want happiness and I'm spending life is precious. The two most valuable resources are time and attention. And we tend to fritter those away. So, the logical, intelligent analysis is, where do I place my limited human resource of time and attention? The function of an operating system is to manage scarce resources, right? The disk and the bandwidth and the memory and all of that. Where does my human operating system, how does that function? Is it focusing on the right thing? And so this is the Purushartha Vichara. So we talk about I'm seeking Artha, Kama, and Dharma. Is that really what I want? No, the analysis ends in the mumukshutvam, in the desire for moksha. And that's why I supplemented this with the Mundaka Upanishad, where he says, Brahmana nasya krita kritena, nothing, nirveda mayat nasya krita kritena. One who's done this Purushartha Vichara after pariksha lokan karma chitan, so after analyzing how well, what's my ROI in terms of the effort I put in and the lasting happiness I get, and when you see that falls short of expectations, right, your investment is losing money, when you see that, you recognize that it's sort of a losing battle to keep searching for happiness, not just sort of, it's a losing battle to search for happiness outside. And so one gains vairagya towards a disinterest in other pursuits and then approaches a guru for the teaching. So that's what's in there is that, so the kashchit punya atishaya shali, the one who has an abundance of punya, what's in there is that someone has the viveka shakti to do that discernment, and therefore he is a viraktaha. Viraktaha means a vairagi, someone who has vairagya, and necessarily he is a mumukshu, so he is samsara hanau yatate. He strives for the removal of samsara through moksha. And so the goal of a guru, I mean one of the guru's tasks is to do this analysis for, many classes are just guided vicharas, guided sessions of inquiry into these various areas. And one of them is, to increase mumukshutvam. They say that, much means to liberate or be free. So that's where we get the word moksha and mukti, they both mean liberation. One who desires moksha is called a mumukshu. And that's a desiderative form, if anybody knows that. San anta. And so mumukshu. And mumuksha, it means a desire for liberation. So then we become spiritual seekers. But like I mentioned, we turn to the spiritual marketplace and YouTube. My goodness, what can you find there? You can find everything. May or may not be beneficial. And so we become subject to these snake oil salesmen. You know a snake oil salesman? Have you heard that? Back in the old West United States, there were these traveling, quote-unquote, doctors who were selling these miracle cures. And they called them snake oil. I don't know because they were made of snake oil, but oftentimes they had alcohol and I think heroin and cocaine back in the day when those things were just over the counter. And so you buy a product, you have some shraddha in it, but it doesn't really do what it's supposed to do. And how do you know? See, the problem is that, I tell this story. Anybody heard of Alice in Wonderland, that book, Through the Looking Glass? The fantasy story. And she's gone through her mirror, and she is, it's a fun story. And she's walking around the road going through adventures. And she comes to a crossroads. And she sees a Cheshire cat. The Cheshire cat is like one big grinning cat. And she asks him, which way should I go? I'm at a crossroads. And he says, well, it all depends on where you want to get to. And she says, well, it doesn't much matter as long as I get there somewhere. And he says, well, it doesn't really matter which road you take. Any road will take you there. And what brings that to mind is that George Harrison of the Beatles had a spiritual bent, and he wrote a song in which the lyric was, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And that's our predicament as mumukshus. We don't know, as people who desire moksha, what am I seeking as a spiritual seeker? If we don't know the nature of the problem, we don't know the nature of the solution. And if we don't know the nature of the solution, we don't know the means to that solution. So the nature of samsara and the sadhya and the sadhana have to be clear. So sadhya means something to be accomplished. Sadhana just means the means to that accomplishment. We think of it as spiritual practices, meditation or whatnot, or yoga. But really, if my goal is to go to the store to buy cilantro, that's the sadhya, the thing to be accomplished, achieved, and the sadhana would be my car, okay? But if you don't know what it is what the nature of what you're trying to solve, the problem of suffering, then how do you know what the solution is? And the Shruti tells us the source of samsara, of suffering, is self-ignorance. And if the cause of suffering, samsara, is self-ignorance, then the solution must be self-knowledge, right? And then what is the means to that atmajnanam, that self-knowledge? How do you gain knowledge? You don't gain knowledge through action, you gain knowledge through a pramana, a means of knowledge. And this teaching is committed, and the Shruti is considered a pramana, a means of knowledge, like our 10th man, right? The sadhu represents the Upanishads, etc., as presented by the guru. So it's always important to include the guru in that, because you can read the Upanishads and not have a clue what it says, right? So sampradayavit is so important. We'll talk about that a bit more. But someone who knows the sampradayam veti iti sampradayavit iti, the one who knows the traditional teaching methodologies. Because this vision is very subtle, the knowledge is very subtle. Because how do you point out to somebody, reveal to somebody something that is omnipresent, is their very self, but is not objectifiable? It has no jati, it has no guna, it has no kriya, it has no sambandha. We'll talk about that tomorrow. You can't categorize Atma, it has no attributes, it has no action, and it has no relationship with anything. We'll talk about this. There's this one meta prakriya, one meta way that the teacher wields the pramana. In fact, the guru is the pramana incarnate. The guru, this is not just to bolster class participation. Class numbers are YouTube hits. The guru is meant to be revealing what he or she knows in real time and leading the students to a vichara, so that the guru's buddhi, knowledge and mind, which hopefully is in line with the vision of the rishis, the arsha drishti, becomes the shishya's drishti, the student's the vision. But if you don't know the sadhya, you don't know the sadhana. If you don't know what your goal is, then, do I need to, take a crystal healing, or do I need to cleanse my, as they say in California, the chakras, the chakras, right? How much hatha yoga do I need to do? All right, how many asanas? How long do I have to stand on my head to gain moksha? How bendy do I need to be? I have to tell you with all humility, daily, I think Charles here sees this coming. Charles has been attending a lot of my retreats. Daily, I practice every asana that's in the Yoga Sutras. For hours a day, I practice every asana. Does that sound impressive? Yes? Yes? There's only one sutra in the Yoga Sutras that talks about asana. It says, sthira sukhamasana. It says that your posture should be comfortable and a position that you can keep for a long time. Steady and comfortable. I do that sitting in my easy chair. So what's going to give us moksha? If you do hatha yogasanas, you can do, it's good. It's nice. You can be able to sit for some time without fidgeting. I mean, all these sadhanas are secondary, but really, what is it that is really going to solve the problem? So if it's self-knowledge, the role of the duty of a guru is to transform a mumukshu into a jignasu. So a mumukshu is one who has a desire for liberation. A jignasu is one who knows that the problem is self-ignorance, and therefore his desire for liberation becomes a desire for self-knowledge. So jignasu is one who desires jnanam, knowledge. And this is a radical transformation. It's a pivotal transformation. Because then you're not lost in the forest of these, the guru marketplace. And you have a focus, and you're directly addressing the problem. And tivra mumukshutvam is strongly encouraged. So they say that the desire for moksha should be as keen as a diptashiras, as one whose hair is on fire. if your hair is on fire, how focused is your attention when you to run to the pond to jump head first to put that fire out? In other words, it's a matter of priorities. You can't really be a dilettante and make this work, right? You can say, oh yeah, okay, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do a little bit of Vedanta, I'll do a little bit of gardening, I'll do some, flower arranging, whatever. Those are fine, flower arranging, gardening, all that's fine. But Swamiji would compare this to, the departure board at a train station at the time, but you can think about it as airplane too, airline departure time. Because back in the day, he had this physical, maybe they're still there in Indian train stations where the physical letters would turn and they'd make a noise, cluck, 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 cluck. And so I'm sure he was sitting waiting for a train one day. He said, moksha, for many people, is towards the bottom. But once you see the exquisite nature of the teaching and how it is addressing the problem and just how intensely beneficial this is, that mumukshutvam, the mumuksha, the desire for moksha, goes up that board until it's the top priority. And that blesses one. Because then you stop frittering your life away in trivial pursuits. So the transition from a samsari to a mumukshu is precipitated by the purushartha vichara. That I understand that moksha is really going to get me what I'm looking for. And then once one understands the nature of the problem is self-ignorance, and one looks for a means of knowledge, and the Shruti is a means of knowledge, but it's a living parampara, it's a living teaching tradition. And that's why in the Mundaka we saw that an intelligent person approaches the guru who is both a Shrotriya and a Brahmanishta, someone who knows knows his material, knows the traditional prakriyas, the methods of unfoldment. Like this is what we did today, traditional method of unfoldment, the Atma and Atma Vichara, right? The self, the analysis of the self and the not self, the presentation of upadhi, right? That the crystal takes on an attribute which it does not belong, which does not inherently belong to it, right? Those are traditional approaches to the teaching, and there's many more. And each Upanishad gives a little different presentation, and the Gita has its own presentation as well. So the idea is that you gain vairagya after purushartha vichara, and then that if you have that vairagya and the viveka, then you seek moksha, and in the end you're seeking knowledge. And it's not theoretical knowledge. It's not abstract knowledge, because you sitting here are not theoretical or abstract, right? And so it is direct unmediated knowledge, right? To know that there's fire on the hill because I see the smoke, that's mediated knowledge. That knowledge is mediated by the vyapti, by the knowledge that wherever there's smoke, there's fire. This is non-mediated knowledge, because you're right here, right? And as we saw in the 10th man story, language can create shabda prama, knowledge that is born of shabda, right? The 10th man knew that he was the very solution to his problem, right? How did he know that? He didn't figure it out himself. The sadhu who talked to him wielded the pramana. So all other pramanas are in our hands. All other means of knowledge, are dependent on the person. This pramana comes from outside in that sense. And that's a problem with reading the scriptures, is that it never really hits home. I know that I may have said this, I was carrying the Viveka Chudamani around, I was reading it every morning, I would open it up and be inspired, and it all was inspirational and aspirational until I heard Puja Swamiji, right? And then what was inspiration and aspirational became hastamulakavat, as clear as a fruit on the top of my hand. And the guru wields the Shruti as a pramana. The teacher wields the texts and the scriptures as a means of knowledge so that you can directly see. And imagine what our friend Devadatta, Devadatta, the 10th man, who didn't realize he was a 10th man. The problem is that we have these grandiose notions of what moksha is, right? You hear these Puranic stories of, or other stories of, the light has to come out of your, out of the chakra, the top of your head, or you have to be able to levitate, or there's all these grandiose ideas of what moksha is. Look at our friend Devadatta. Imagine what he thought, his reaction when he learned he was a 10th man. His samsara was gone, right? When Devadatta recognized that he was what he was himself searching for, the seeking resolved into the very seeker because he was the very sought, right? His seeking ended because he was the thing that was being sought after. And so we don't seek for the sake of seeking, we seek for this to resolve the seeker, and it turns out that the seeking resolves in the very nature of the seeker. But did he float in the air, and did lights beam out of his eyes? No. I imagine Devadatta did something like, of course. And the end is not too different than that. Of course, right? It's an open secret. It's so obvious once you see it, you can't miss it, but it's so obvious that you can't see it unless someone points it out. And that's the role of a teacher, to point it out to you. All right, you had another question?
Thank you very much. The second question is about, on page 16, about the Adhyasa Lakshanam and the Anonya Adhyasa, which is the mutual superimposition.
Yeah.
Is all superimposition which we encounter as a problem in this inquiry, is it all mutual superimposition, or there is something? No,
not really. So the example of the snake is only a one-way superimposition. You could say that there's two ways. I mean, you could say that the snake is superimposed upon the rope, but we don't really talk about it that way. The shape of the rope is the shape of the snake, and the color of the rope is the color of the snake, and the texture of the rope is the texture of the snake. But we don't really talk about that as mutual superimposition. In our situation, it is mutual, and the one that is really problematic. We have to understand that the body is not inherently awareful or existent, but the bigger one that we focus on is that I take myself to be, is the other way around. I take myself, the anatma is superimposed upon atma. Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know, every is a big word, so I try to stay away from from such terms like that, because there's always exceptions to things. But
one more question.
Yeah. I tell people, why Swamis wear these on the forehead is that it's supposed to be the off button, but somehow Swamis can never quite find the off button. You ask one question and they go on for 20 minutes. Yes.
Thank you, Swami. Thank you, Swamiji. I just wanted to clarify on what you were saying about that you cannot achieve moksha through action, it has to be through knowledge. Whereas the entire Bhagavad Gita is based on karma yoga, or the importance of action, taking action.
Yeah.
So if you cannot achieve Brahma, achieve moksha through action, then what is the purpose of karma yoga? And what is the purpose of playing your roles in life, and if it doesn't lead to moksha?
Very insightful question, beautiful question. Absolute role. Sri Krishna says, Lokesmin dvivada nishta pura prokta mayanakas, jnana yogena sankyanam, karma yogena yoginam. There aren't 4, 5, 6, 7 paths. Sri Krishna says there's 2 committed lifestyles, 2 nishtas. One is a path for the nivritti marga, for those who have a contemplative monastic disposition, who withdraw from the world, just study and perform contemplation. In fact, in the Western monastic tradition, monks are called contemplatives because it's a job description. And then there's for those who are on a pravritti marga, an engaged lifestyle out in the world, he says karma yoga is for them. And anything that involves action is part of karma yoga. So you could say, if you want to be able to sit, you can do hatha yoga, asanas. Meditation is a manasa vyapara, is a mental action. Puja can be chanting, very beautiful, is a vak. There's three types of action. There's manasa, kayika, and vak. There's mental action, verbal action, and physical action. And you can engage all those in puja and other sorts of things. They are preparatory for gaining knowledge. In other words, there seem to be obstacles for us to really clearly see what is being taught, to hold on to that, and to make it my living reality. And one of the obstacles is the binding nature of our likes and dislikes, our ragas and dveshas. And so there's a whole program that Sri Krishna presents about karma yoga. In the end, if you notice, he keeps saying, Atma is not a karta. Atma is not a doer. The one who knows understands that one is doing nothing, even when the mind is thinking and the eyes are blinking and the legs are walking. And this is because what walks, the legs walk. What thinks, the mind thinks. What feels, the heart feels. Who am I? I'm the one to whom all of that becomes evident. Right? I'm the sakshi to those emotional and psychological dynamics, right? But karma plays an important part. The attitude of a karma yogi, you cannot be a karma yogi without being a bhakta, because karma yoga is a means to transform your daily life into a prayer, right? To recognize that you're never separate from the sacred. Everything is Ishvara. There's nothing here but Bhagavan. There's nothing here but Ishvara. And as Puja Swamiji would say, if we get closer to Ishvara, the more we Ishvarize everything in our experience, because there's nothing here but Ishvara. And so a karma yogi uses the provisional perspective of the duality between me and God. I don't feel like I'm Brahman. I don't understand I'm Ishvara. But many of us have a religious bent. So we can use that dualistic framework to transform our life. Karma transforms that which is subject to transformation. And our desire, the intensity of our desires is subject to transformation. And so karma yoga has three aspects of it. One is Ishvara Arpana Buddhi, one is Ishvara Prasada Buddhi, and Yoga Karma Sukhaushalam, which I talked about earlier. Ishvara Prasada Buddhi is, who here has never heard that term? Ishvara Prasad, okay. So when you go to the temple, I have a minute and a half here. When you go to the temple, you bring fruit, right? And luckily, Bhagavan seems to be a very light eater, because most of the fruit you offer comes back to you, right? But let's say you offer a banana and an orange, and you love orange, because of course, who doesn't love orange? And so you offer both, but the pujari gives you back a banana. What do? You don't throw it back at him. You receive it gracefully, because that is grace. Whether it conforms to your raga or dvesha or not, whether it conforms to your system of your likes or your dislikes, right? And so we can see the attitude of a karma yogi is that whatever comes to me is grace, whether it aligns with my ragas or not, whether it's what I want. Everything is grace. People say, "Oh, it was just Bhagavan's grace that I got to the meeting on time, because the traffic was dispersed." Getting a flat tire on the way to work is equally grace. Everything that comes to you is prasada, right? The way your life unfolds is a function of your prarabdha, of the packaging of your karma, of your punya and papa, that unfolds as the events and opportunities and challenges of your life. And Ishvara is the karma pala the giver of the results of karma, because he is everything. So he's actually the law of cause and effect. And so everything that comes to you is grace, whether you like it or not. And when you adopt that attitude, then you can live much more gracefully in life, right? And what's happening is that when you have that attitude, it diminishes the push and pull of your ragas and dveshas, meaning you gain some objectivity and vairagya, right? You can create some equanimity in the face of whatever life has to give you. Everything's grace. Everything's grace, whether you like it or not. Ishvara Prasada Buddhi. The second dynamic is Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. Everything I do, I offer, and this is using this apparent distance between me and Ishvara. Finally, knowledge lets you see that there is no distance between you and the sacred. But if you still think there is, and you have some, you can do some self-improvement based on this, and so on this duality. And so the second is the Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. Whatever I do, I offer to the Lord. And that helps promote, we want to offer the best to the Lord, right? So everything I do is an offering. So it helps us become more deliberate in how we engage with the world, right? We want to express, there's great freedom, and adhikaratvam, actually, you become quite qualified for this teaching if you approach the world with a generous disposition, right? A small sense of self makes you greedy, and you're much more liable to cause harm to others. Because if you have a small sense of self, I need what that person has. I don't care if I hurt them or not. I'm going to grab that and take it, right? But if you have a larger sense of, even a relatively larger sense of self, you can engage the world with equanimity and an openness and a generosity, right? To offer a generous spirit to people in your life is grace for them, and it blesses you. It blesses them, and then blesses you. So the two dynamics of karma yoga that we talked about are Ishvara Prasada Buddhi and Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. And then I talk about yoga karma sukhaushalam. That yoga, one definition of yoga that Sri Krishna gives in the Bhagavad Gita is expertise in action, meaning having dharma and adharma viveka. And we talked about that earlier, right? And that's a tapas. Because if I know what should be done, or if I have a value for something, but my inclination, is not to naturally do that, then there's a friction. Tap means to heat, right? So there's natural friction between what I want to do and what I intend to do, right? The person who sets the alarm clock for 5 o'clock in the morning is not necessarily the same person who keeps hitting the snooze alarm, right? But there's a natural purifying process of tapas. If you follow dharma, I gave the idea of going to the dead cow hamburger place. If that's what you're used to, it can be a real struggle to not do that because you're habituated to it. So that's the role of karma. Karma transforms, action transforms that which is subject to transformation. And that which is subject for transformation is your mind, your heart, your character, and that prepares you to gain this knowledge and to hold this knowledge and to make it your living reality. Thank you, Swamiji, for letting me go over. Swami Advayatmananda is here. He's going to bless us with his words. I brought my own microphone. I don't know if you want to use this or this mic. Huh? You want to try this one? Okay, come, please. I wondered that Swami V tried this when he was here, and he had a heck of a time. But please come.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thanks, Swamiji, for inviting me to say something on significance of Vijayadashmi, which happens to be today, and significance of Navaratri, significance of festivals in Hindu Dharma. The worship of Ishvara in the form of a mother has been well known since time immemorial. Ishvara can be worshipped in any form. It could be worshipped in father form, it could be worshipped in mother form, it can be worshipped in a child form, it can be worshipped in a friend form. All forms are ultimately forms of Ishvara, so he can be worshipped in any form. But the child has a special relationship with the mother. The child can go wrong, but never the mother. You must have heard of it. Kuputro jayet kvachidapi kumata na bhavati. The child can go wrong. Kvachidapi. Na. The mother will never be a wrong. Means mother will not punish. So regardless of how the child behaves, the mother forgives all wrongdoings, loves and embraces the child. And that is the reason that worshipping Ishvara in the form of a mother is very natural. And a mother has two sides of a personality. On one side, she has an abundant love, care, compassion for her child. And this aspect of her personality is open for all the devotees, who are like children for mother. So whoever takes a refuge unto her, well, she definitely showers her grace, her love, care, compassion. On the other side, the same mother, well, shows her ferocious nature, her ruthless side towards the wicked. And in order to protect the devotees, protect the child from them. So she is basically an embodiment of a Shakti. And we take it this way. In Lalita Sahasranam, it is very beautifully said, Ichha Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Jnana Shakti Swarupini. So this Shakti is in the form of is in three forms. The power of knowledge, the power to will, and the power to act. And so these are all forms. These three are the forms of a Shakti. So that's how she is worshipped as a Saraswati. She is worshipped as a Lakshmi, and she is worshipped as a Durga. So these three forms of Shakti basically are primarily worshipped during Navaratri. They have removed Golu. Anyway, I wanted to talk about it, but it's okay. I will talk as it is. You have already seen. So anyway, this Navaratri. So first 3 days we worship as a Durga. Durga means an obstacle, basically, and they are inside our heart. And this battle, of course, is talked in the Puranas also, and where it is symbolically, which is an inner battle raging between our divine and demoniac tendencies. And they are obstacles in our journey of self-growth. So with their harassment, when their harassment becomes, harassment becomes too much, unbearable, then, the aspirant, the devotee, or a seeker, takes a refuge unto the mother, and then mother manifests her fierce form and destroy the demon. That's how in Bengal they always show, they begin on the 6th day, the celebration, not from the first day, unlike in the north. And they always show a idol of a Durga who is killing a Mahishasura. And so, and of course, the 10th day, when of Mahishasura, the demon was killed, and then the celebration of victory, That's called Vijayadashmi. They never called Dashahara. There it is Vijayadashmi. Dashahara is, that name is popular. For the same day, another name. That's popular in the northern part of India. In the eastern part and also in the southern part, they call it as a Vijayadashmi. And in Karnataka, they say the Durga has not killed. They say Chamundi. There it is very popular. You know, Chamundi has killed a demon. Anyway, so this is what Durga. Durga means one who destroys Durgam. So that is Durga. So that is first. So she is worshipped first 3 days. And then the second, a group of 3 days, where Lakshmi, of course, is worshipped. And she is an epitome of a beauty, you know, and sweetness, splendor. So because now the demoniac tendencies have gone, our heart should be filled up with the divine tendencies. She's basically an embodiment of divine tendencies. We call Daivi Sampat. And as a result of our blessing, our heart will be filled with the divine tendencies. And so that is, and now when the divine tendencies are there, then definitely we are making a space for Ishvara to enter. And Ishvara enters in the form of a knowledge. So Saraswati, the presiding deity of knowledge, then is worshipped in the last 3 days of the Navratri. And her blessing destroys the darkness of ignorance, and the light of knowledge permeates our heart. This 9th day basically is known as the day of a Saraswati Shayanam. Saraswati Shayanam means that day Saraswati takes rest. And of course, we worship her on that day. And the following day will be a Dashahara. So where the Dashahara, Dasha stands for a 10-headed person, like our Dashanana, Ravana. And Hara means who is destroyed. I hope it is, I think, from the root Hrudhatu, means taken away, to take away or to destroy, something like that. So this Dashahara, where this Dashanana is killed, the Ahankara is killed by the knowledge. That's a thing. I will talk little in a Vedantic context little later. So anyway, so the 9th day this Saraswati Pujanam is done. They generally, of course, idol is there, it is fine. Otherwise, they put the books. And there are musical instruments like veena and other things also are put there. And that becomes an altar for the worship of Saraswati. Then next day also, all tools are worshipped. All tools. And all tools basically represent technology. Technology is nothing but again knowledge. It's applied knowledge. So on a Saraswati Pujan day, we worship generally all the books along with the musical instruments. And on Dashara, that's Vijayadashmi, also we worship Saraswati, but in a different form. So that's how all tools, like let us start with the blacksmith. You know, a shop of a blacksmith, you will never like to visit because it's a very dirty. A lot of ash will be there. And in India, they use even coal for that fire pit. So that will be there. And everything is so dirty. But before the Vijayadashmi, the previous evening, the blacksmith cleans everything, thoroughly cleaning. And then in the morning of Vijayadashmi, well, he puts kumkumam, chandanam and garland to everything, starting from hammer and bellows and fire pit and whatever the instruments are there. All are worshipped. That day tools, he doesn't use any tool. That day merely worshipping the tools. Next day again he uses the tools. Or a carpenter, or even a goldsmith, whatever the instruments the tools they use, they worship. The bus drivers, they use the tool, means the cars and buses, So they are worshipped. Even in India, the government is considered as a secular government, right? And therefore, secular governments, you should not do this kind of a ritual. But they invariably, all the drivers, before they go on their, they perform their duty, the first thing in the morning, they do all this, they worship the vehicles, right? The buses or whatever. Why? Because it's all put together. All is put together. If the parts of the buses you keep separate, all separate, you won't call it bus. You call it bus for a given form, which is nothing but a put together to serve a certain purpose. And putting together is all knowledge, all possibilities, all orders, right? All laws. Not a single law is a man-made law. All laws are ultimately its nature's law. It's unlike taxation law. So all laws, all possibilities, and human being is given a potential to tap that, and so you use it.
Swamiji, would you prefer a different microphone? Maybe that microphone there?
Okay.
That was one I brought.
I generally use it, but it is little.
This is actually mine I brought from home, so it's
Okay.
here, so it's a little. Maybe the one, Ganesh, maybe the one with the stand. Can you put the stand in front of it? Will it reach?
Yeah.
The boom?
I hope it will reach. You want to keep here? Okay. Or let me keep in hand. I think that's yeah. Yeah, we can use it. Okay. So we are worshipping knowledge. Saraswati Pujan on the 9th day, worshipping knowledge. 10th day also worshipping knowledge. We are worshipping all knowledge, Ishvara in short. From the standpoint, what happens is Ishvara is abhinna nimitta upadana karanam. Maker, material are non-separate. From the standpoint of a maker, he, and from the standpoint of a material, she. And the material is just all knowledge. I will be talking to that. So anyway, on Saraswati Puja, knowledge is worshipped with altar of the books. And on Vijayadashmi, applied knowledge, technology is worshipped. Anyway, and such worship definitely takes a certain way of looking at the things. Like a car is there, right? I can't worship a car because it doesn't give me good mileage. How can I worship it? But definitely on a Vijayadashmi day, when I worship the car, I have an understanding of Ishvara, whose manifestation is all these forms, Ishvara's manifestation, all forms will be seeing it. It's all Ishvara's manifestation. It's simple. The simple example is you. You are Ishvara. You have an experience. When you create the entire dream world, including space, time, and all objects, no material is there. Whatever the material is there, it's your own knowledge. All your own impressions only manifest. In fact, that's how it is. From an unmanifest state, whole thing comes. You are a waker, goes to sleep, everything becomes unmanifest. Of course, our upadhi is there, therefore the waker is, there is avarana on the waker. But everything is unmanifest. From there, whole thing comes. All forms, sentient, insentient, whatever is there in the dream world is just you with your knowledge. Right? You with your knowledge is there. Therefore, for the entire dream world, what is the material? Your own knowledge. All forms are nothing but your own knowledge. Same way here in this creation also, all that is there is your own, Ishvara's knowledge. Anyway, and therefore, you worship. So if we worship any tool, the tool is a dumb thing and therefore we should not worship. It's not dumb. If you have a knowledge of Ishvara, which is straight knowledge, if you have a clear knowledge, all forms are all sacred forms of Ishvara's knowledge only, including your body, mind, sense complex. Anyway, So this is that. Then in Tamil Nadu, during these 9 days of Navaratri, they make this golu. And they build a huge set of 9 steps. Generally 9. I saw here 7. It all depends. And on these steps, they keep different idols made up of either clay or china clay or other material. And what they present, all forms, is a Jagat there. Each of the 9 steps in the Golu has a different kinds of beings. At the top, they generally keep a Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesha, etc. Then the next step is other devatas, Ganesha and other things. Then the third step, all, now we don't find, but the forms of a Yaksha, Kinnara, etc. As per the description in the Puranas or text, sacred text, there is a description of them. So accordingly they make a idol also out of that, and that's on third step. The fourth step is all human beings, including an Englishman and a black person and a white person, all. And all you will find there. People of different cultures, different dresses, maybe different dharmas also. Could be. So all human beings are kept. And then further is, animals. Even, horse and elephant and all this. And then trees, various trees they keep. Then various fruits they keep. So the whole Jagat, the Shakti, is presented there. Right? Like the whole dream world. Keep this thing in mind. Your own Shakti, your creative power, unmanifest, has become manifest. So whole thing is there. The entire Jagat is there, which is worshipped as a Shakti. In fact, they invite. Actually that part, that Golu part is a thing for the women. But man only, they decorate everything. They decorate, they go away. Then women, they invite each other. And then they go to each other's place with a beautiful wearing saris and all the ornaments, and they sit in front of the Golu and sing the glory of goddess. In any form. We have several forms of goddess. So in any form they sing there. It's wonderful. Anyway, so, and now of course this technology also is included there. So you find a big toy train, which is moving on the tracks and everything. Or you find a fountain, which is, from there the water is coming down. I would not be surprised if someday some small leisure show also will be, or maybe something else. You will find all this. Why not? It's all, ultimately, technology is also based on knowledge. And therefore, it's all forms. The Jagat is presented there, which is Shakti, Anyway, so this Navaratri festival shows how this goddess is Maya, the Jagat Rupini. She is Shakti because she is, this is a little Vedanta, little. So she is a Shakti because she is a Parinami Upadana Karanam, a transformational cause. So when we say Brahman is a Jagat Karanam, as Adhishthanam, of course, it's a Karanam. Like a rope is Adhishthanam for the snake, a rope is we call a Karanam for the snake. That is fine. But more than that, we really feel Brahman is Jagat Karanam. We feel that, Brahman with this Shakti, the creative power, will manifest into various forms, starting from Akasha, Vayu, Tasmadva, Etasmad, Atmanaha, Akasha Sambhutah, Akashat, Vayu, all forms, billions of forms, starting from Akasha, Vayu, everything is this Parameshwara Shakti manifest in these all forms, right? And that Maya, the Shakti, is non-separate. It abides in the Brahman. So Brahman, along with the Shakti, the Ishvara, who takes this shape of, getting various forms, etc. And so that Ishvara Shakti, Bhagavati, we call, is one who undergoes all changes, and she is this Jagat that is presented in the Golu. Now, if that is the Jagat is the Shakti, then all our vrittis also, because including our body, mind, sense, complex, everything is a part of Jagat. So everything is ultimately a manifestation of the Maya. And so all our vrittis are also Maya. And it includes even the knowledge, basically, that you gather by that vritti. The vritti that destroys the ignorance of the reality, that's also Maya. So it is a Maya vritti, it is mithya, has no and therefore has no existence independent of Brahman. But that vritti is capable of destroying ignorance, right? And therefore this particular vritti, the Brahmakara vritti, is worshipped as a goddess who destroys ignorance and that dashanana, ahankara. And why 10-headed, multi-headed? Ahankara is a multi-headed. Starting from I am a gross body, I am a human being, and I am this, I am black, and I'm tall, and I'm everything. I mean, so much. I am seer, hearer, etc. I am good, bad. All forms of ahankara ultimately are also destroyed. So-called in Vedanta, the destruction is understanding it as a mithya. That's it. Apparent. So basically, that Brahmakara vritti, which is a Maya vritti, is worshipped as a goddess who killed this dashanana. Could you follow? And then you have a victory. The life of a Jivan Mukta is Pujya Swamiji used to always say that he all the days are the days of holiday. He enjoys as a free self. Even we enjoy the freedom momentarily, which you call moment of happiness, where you find yourself a free self. The smallness is dropped from momentarily from the I. You enjoy it. You accept it yourself as yourself. And therefore, definitely for that person, there is a victory over samsara. That's it. Vijayadashmi. Anyway, so when we are worshipping Ishvara, only Ishvara Shakti is worshipped. We should remember, whoever is invoking Ishvara, Ishvara Shakti is worshipped, not Brahman. When you are invoking Ishvara as a Sarvajna, of course, all knowledge in form of a Saraswati, you are not invoking Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, but you are invoking Sarvajna Ishvara for gaining the knowledge of Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma as the very self. That's the difference. So when we do the prayer, we are definitely praying to Ishvara Shakti, invoking Shakti of Ishvara. So much importance. So what you call the Hindu religion, definitely is just a prayer based on, the Vedic vision, whole vision. So unless our concept of Ishvara is clear, these types of worship, worshipping a car and worshipping a hammer and all that, are not possible if knowledge is not there. And therefore, one should definitely gain a knowledge. And in this way, the whole life, gaining knowledge of Ishvara is everything. What is Ishvara, as Pujya Swamiji says. Therefore, in this way, the whole life becomes a process of sanctification, because you are seeing everything as a sacred. This is your outlook, it's your attitude. And of course, festival becomes a nimitta for that. And festivals are created by us. You imagine, festivals are created by us, situations are created by us, so that we bring out that attitude from us. The attitude of seeing something sacred. Even we worship, believe me, we worship the books which has certain mistakes. Whoever has written, and with whatever the mistake, that day we won't see that. To see mistake as a mistake, of course, is a knowledge, but that day we just worship. And taking it as altar of a Saraswati, etc. Anyway, So from the childhood, well, definitely we learn to appreciate like this and look upon things as sacred. So you build up a certain vision, and therefore you study Vedanta, it is fine. You need not study Vedanta. Still, I tell you, everyone in our India will say, Sab kuch Bhagwan hai. Itna to bolenge. Everything is Ishvara. They have not studied Vedanta, Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karana. Nothing is studied. But they know. Because looking upon everything as a sacred was from the childhood. Manifestation of Ishvara was from the childhood. Anyway, so this is how. So there are so many festivals, well, and in those festivals we bring out a certain attitude. As I said, in fact we create the situation, I said, and then we demonstrate that attitude. So like when you send a birthday card or etc. or a gift to someone, it's an expression of your care and love towards the person. So in every culture there are some beautiful things, and if you remove them, there is nothing. Life becomes robotic. So these are all required. And of course Garbha also, she told me that you should talk about Garbha. It's a form where you move in a circular fashion and at the same time sing a glory of a goddess. Nowadays what is happening, it's a different thing, but traditionally this was a thing. Anyway, it's a form of worshipping goddess during 9 nights of Navratri. So here, of course, in a Navratri, well, in a ritualistic way, you bring out that sanctity by looking upon knowledge which is very sacred. Nahi jnanena sadrusham pavitramiha vidyate. Jnanagni sarvakarmani bhasmasat kurute. In the world, there are many things which sanctify, which purifies. Many, many things, starting from the fire. Fire purifies, steam purifies, and many more. They always, in a hospital, they used to have autoclaves where, they put the doctors put their instruments and then gloves and this, and then they make it free from pathogens, etc., in case if it is there. So there are several detergents purifies. So many purifying agents are there, but all are within samsara. No purifying agent is able to purify, make you free from the mala, the basic impurity called samsara, a sense of limitation, which again give rise to a fear and sorrow and all other things, right? They are not able to do that. They are all within samsara. Little patchwork here and there, little patchwork, but not more than that. This is the knowledge. Jnanagni sarvakarmani bhasmasat. This is the knowledge which will make you free from samsara. All other purifying agents are within the realm of samsara. They are not able to remove that samsara. This is the knowledge. So Jnanagni sarvakarmani. You become free from all karmas because you become free from the very kartrutva. Understanding the Atma is free from doership, etc. Well, so that's how even the goddess Saraswati has one hand, which we call Abhayahasta. So she protects you. Her name also is Sharada. So Sharada. Shara means a knowledge. And dadati. So Sharam dadati iti Sharada, which gives you knowledge of the self, Brahma Vidya, by which she really protects you from samsara. That's how, and when you are protected, well, definitely, it's with the help, with the grace of Saraswati, Ishvara, well, definitely, you have a Vijayadashmi all over. You have gained a victory over this ahankara, dashanana, and samsara. The cause of samsara is taking oneself as a ahankara. That's it. Oneself as an individual, limited being, limited in time, place, attributes. Well, one becomes free. This is the meaning of Vijayadashmi, okay? This is what I think that way we should put. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Very beautiful. Thank you, Swamiji.